There are shows with psychics.
And there are shows with doctors.
But there's no show like The Psychic and the Doc.
Your practical paranormal power unleashed.
This show synthesizes the talents of world-class medium Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, psychic explorer,
and street smart spiritualist, behavioral psychologist, Dr. Pat Baccili. All subjects are on the table and no topic is taboo. Inspiration, insight,
action, and fun as Mark Anthony connects callers with loved ones in spirit.
In tandem with Dr. Pat's fresh, no-nonsense, street-smart, intuitive insights. And she is hilarious.
Extraordinary problems
require extraordinary solutions, which may come from this side
or the other side. This is The Psychic
and the Doc, and it starts now.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Psychic and the Doc. I am Dr. Pat, and I'm joined here by the most incredible award-winning talk show, radio, video streaming host, Mark Anthony, JD, psychic explorer, psychic lawyer, but so much more. We had a great show. We're gonna Father's Day, right?
Yeah, and the theme of the show is Dad's Rule. And Dr. Pat, right back at you. You're the award-winning best show host of the year. The reason, everybody, that we're saying this is we've been very honored to have been awarded Best Radio Show of 2024 by Best Holistic Life magazine. And the amazing thing is we had absolutely zero knowledge that the show had even been submitted. Because a lot of award shows, you got to apply for it. And then, you go online and say, everybody vote for me. This one, we had nothing to do with. And so when we found out about that, and we were also very honored last week to have Jana Short on, who's the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic, and she announced it to the world. So I want to thank Best Holistic and everybody with their team, but especially I want to thank all of our listeners for your support. And Dr. Pat, as you always say, we have the best audience in the world.
We do. And, I want to just comment about this for a minute, and then we'll get into some real fun with Father's Day. But Mark and I, once upon a time when I started this 20 years ago, it was important to get awards, right? Somebody told me that. And even then, other people submitted for awards, right? But when we started this, awards were the furthest thing in our minds.
Yeah.
That's not why, Mark, you and I are doing this show. We're doing this show because the audience, in a sense, really wanted to tap in and get some help. And this is the way that you know how to do it, and I know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm truly blessed to be able to have a venue where we can actually do this. It's really great.
I couldn't agree more, because it is a blessing to do what you love doing and what we're good at. I spent a lot of years doing jobs and things that I wasn't always thrilled with. And then when I started on my spiritual path, doing the mediumship, embracing that and doing this, but to have this venue where we're able to reach people, plus, and working with Dr. Pat is just like amazing. Not like amazing, it is amazing. And we've mentioned, like before, I was a guest on the Dr. Pat show, and when I would be on tour in Seattle, and so people would call in and I would do a reading, and then she would help them understand what it meant. And after a couple times being on the show, we started saying, we got to do something with this. This is working. So here we are. So this is great.
It's so fun. And this is a live call-in show for all of you. 1-800-930-2819. And, I know there are some of you that haven't been able to call in or haven't been able to exactly call in. And how should I say it? Get on. And so for those of you out there that want to do that, please make sure Emily knows who you are. If you call in, we will do our best to get you up there. 1-800-930-2819. Okay, so Mark, Father's Day. I had to look online. Now, my dad, I had to look online. So most of the time, dad gets what? A bottle of bourbon. I don't know. What do you get your dad? Whatever
Yeah.
dad.
A
Okay.
tie,
Okay.
something really, yeah.
My dad, I had to go get me some of them Cuban cigars, like from my Cuban cigar person, illegally Cuban cigars, right?
Mhm.
But I knew what my dad liked. And I knew if I got him the best of the best, he would so appreciate that. Never could get him whiskey because my dad was a trucker. And we were always amazed how these boxes would fall off a truck, like the truck is being loaded and unloaded. And then, like, oh, that box of royal blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, we can't deliver it. The box is damaged. And then it comes home and there's not a bottle broken in that. I said, Dad, how is that? How did that happen? Oh, it must be good luck. But unique gifts for Father's Day. I think people try so hard, but I found one.
What was that?
This is the gift for y'all out there for your dads. A beef jerky flower bouquet.
Oh, I love it.
I'm sorry. That's a real thing, Mark. I'm telling you, folks, Google it. Beef jerky flower bouquet. I can't share my screen or I'd show that to you. But we're not affiliated with this company, by the way. They're called Manly Man. But my friend said, you got to mention this because she said, I have seen it all, but this is what I got my dad.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
what do you think is a cool gift? What do you think? I mean, honoring Father's Day is so important. I got another text message and somebody said, Pat, this was the I'm not going to paraphrase this. I just got to give you all it straight. They said, are you going to honor our divine Father? And my answer back to them in the email is, we always do that.
Yeah.
We honor our divine Father. They're talking about God,
Yeah.
our divine mother. We honor religious, interfaith, whatever you want to call it. But we operate this show. And I don't want to speak for you. I'd love to hear from you on this. We operate this show from a spiritual plane.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, the answer is, but can I tell you what else I wrote back in the email?
I want to hear.
This is the beef jerky email, right? And so I emailed back and I said, I was raised Catholic. And I got to tell you, y'all better be honoring that father every day. Because if you're not, you better be going to confession every week. Because, it's interesting. For me, my journey has been, I'm a spiritual hitchhiker. Whenever I do a talk on Street Smart Spirituality, I introduce myself as that. Because for a really long time, I had a problem with this. But when it comes to Father's Day, we're talking about honoring. If we could hold that consciousness of honoring, if not your father, honoring the fathers that have come before to allow us to be here and be free, right, Mark?
Yes. Yes. Honoring your father, pick up the phone, everybody. Don't text. Pick up the phone. If your dad's here in this world, call him. Better yet, spend time with him. I think that was one of the best gifts, was taking a day just to spend time with dad. My dad, he was a Mr. Fix-It. So if I could find him some really cool tools or, a cordless drill or something, he just loves stuff like that. What I used to do is, where I lived, there a lot of the professional baseball teams would do spring training. Now, obviously, it's too late in the year for spring training, but I used to get tickets to all the spring training, and Dad and I would go to these baseball games, and we'd see like the Baltimore Orioles and all these famous teams down in Florida at spring training. and we would eat hot dogs and popcorn and pizza and all that garbage that you eat at baseball. Basically, I let him eat everything that my mom wouldn't let him eat because it was bad for you, But when I look back, those were some of the happiest times that I got to spend with Dad in the years before he passed. And
Wow.
so I think the best gift anybody can give your dad is to spend some time with him.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, have him over for a barbecue, take him out to dinner, just be with him. Because in the final analysis, we can't create time. And the other problem a lot of people have is thinking they have time. Oh, I'll see you when I get there. Yeah, really? You think you
Yeah.
have time? There is no time like the present. So spend time with your dad.
Yeah.
Honor your dad.
Yeah, it's so really important. I mean, and there are fun things out there to get dad that you may not be thinking about, right? I mean, come on, what are the traditional? What do we owe it? Socks, ties, if they still work. We're always thinking of like, but you can get yourself some custom things now, really cool kind of custom things now. But I know there's one gift in particular that if my dad was still here, but he's not, he's in with spirit. I'm not sure which place though. But if he was still, dad, not sure about that. But if dad was still here, he would, what he would love? Those car cushion with massage and
Yeah,
the heater. That would be my dad with that thing in there, that the whole massage cushion thing driving in there. Truck drivers, I joke about that, but I've been around truck drivers all my life, Teamsters Union, the whole thing. My dad. If you ever ride in a big truck, 18, now 22 wheeler, whatever they are, that is one of the roughest rides you'll ever have. And those folks, the dads that get in them trucks, and now the moms that get in those trucks and drive for hours and hours and hours to get us stuff that we buy. Wow. Wow. It's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah. But my dad, I mean, he needed something for his very flat tush. And so getting him that massage would have made it a great day. What do you think, Mark?
Oh, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I keep thinking about my dad because anytime I'd ask him, what do you want? Oh, nothing, nothing. So I'd always try to be inventive and try to take him somewhere that he would enjoy. I think one Father's Day, my dad liked Westerns. So I got him a
Yeah.
whole stack of Louis L'Amour books, all these Westerns. And I figured, all right, that'll keep him, happy for a couple months. He read all of them in 2 weeks. I gave him like 6 books. And my mom called me, what'd you give those books for? It's all he's doing is reading. Because he was so into it. He read all of those. And I was like, well, Dad, that was supposed to last a while. He goes, I don't care. He goes, I wanted to read them. So the thing is, dads, the thing about, see, any man can be a father, but not every man can be a dad. There's a
Mm,
difference there. Any guy can be a sperm donor, sorry, but that's the way it is. But being a dad, that's the guy that makes the sacrifices for the family. Like your dad driving the truck. My dad was working insane amount of hours. I remember he worked in aerospace, and even he went in on Easter Sunday one time because they told him he needed to be there. The guy that puts the interests of his family financially, personally, ahead of his own, the guy that no matter how much he works, still always found time to spend time with me when I was a kid. That to me is part of what makes a father a dad.
yeah. And I want to say, everybody, 1-800-930-2819. We're taking your calls. And I'm not kidding. When I said that there are these gifts at this particular company, not only do they have the beef jerky bouquet, they have the bacon bouquet, and then they have beef jerky that you can put a special message in. And when you roll it out, there's a message in the beef jerky. I feel so absolutely fulfilled right now. let's take a short break. When we come back, we'd love to chat with you. 1-800-930-2819. And look, the best to all of you that have fathers here and fathers in spirit. They're your father, regardless. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Have a dad in spirit that you would like to hear from, now's your opportunity. 1-800-930-2819. And Dr. Pat and I were talking about, the type of gifts that you get dad for Father's Day. And because dads are hard to buy for. I think moms are easier to buy for, because it's like, moms, it's like it could be perfume, it could be clothes, it could be, and also moms like you to spend time with them too.
Yeah.
That's what parents really, really appreciate, is when their adult children take the time to spend time with them,
Yeah.
because it's so precious. People always think, oh, we have the time. You don't. You don't. So when
No,
that
you don't.
opportunity arises, you do it, because you never know um, if when the last time you talk to someone, and this is something I always stress, and I know Dr. Pat does too, when you are having a conversation with someone you love, no matter how heated or antagonistic things may get, leave that conversation. Tell that person, I love you, because you don't know if that is the last thing you will ever say to that person.
Mm.
And I get incidents of that all the time. It comes through during readings where people had the last words they had with someone were in anger, and now they spend their time regretting it. And
Yeah.
so always end your conversation with, you can say, look, you're really ticking me off right now, but I still love you, always will. And you know
Yeah.
what? You won't regret it.
Yeah, such an important thing. When my stepmom passed, I went through that because I had just talked to her. And you try to replay things in your mind, Mark. And I had just talked to her and she was telling me she was feeling depressed. And I heard that, but I wondered, is it really that? Because Mama Doris was rarely depressed. This is a woman that she wrote the book on optimism. I'm not kidding. And, I thought it was one of the oddest calls I had had with her. And I started to wonder about it. And I started, look, we didn't have the Google we got now. We didn't
No,
have the
yeah.
apps now. So in order for you to try to figure it out, you had to figure some stuff out. And by the time I could even think about what it might be, she had a massive heart attack, and literally massive heart attack. Her heart exploded. And I went through this period, Mark, where I said, God, Pat, you should have known better, right? This is what we do. You
Yeah.
should have known better. Maybe you should have, told her to, I did go tell her to see someone. But in the end, I don't know if there would have been anything that I could have done to stop that. Right, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah. Life is I always say that life is like a journey in a boat down a river. Sometimes the water is calm and clear and you can see that, other time it's murky, so you can't see dangers beneath the surface. Then there's rapids, and then there's waterfalls. And we're going to go over waterfalls whether we like it or not. And going over a waterfall is the death of a loved one. That's a big waterfall. And when things are smooth sailing, that's one thing my dad always taught me. I remember when I was in college and I was home for the weekend, and I was talking to him, and when I wanted to talk to dad, that usually meant I had to be outside with him as he was trimming or hacking. He would call it trimming. My mother would call it hacking a bush into like oblivion. Because he was, he's a real, never lay around, always real busy, in motion kind of guy. And I said, well, Dad, how's everything going? He goes, I just wish everything would be status quo. I go, what do you mean? He goes, everybody's healthy right now. Things are good. Everybody's alive. He said, all my kids are doing well. I just want status quo. And at the time I was thinking, because when you're in college, it's like, gotta achieve, gotta ambition, status quo, and now I have the perspective and I realize he was wise enough to understand it doesn't get better than this. I remember sitting in my parents' backyard. Dad would be grilling some stuff. Mom would be, making everything else, and my sister and her boyfriend, and my brother and his girlfriend, and we would all be together, and those were the best times of our life.
Yeah.
At the moment, maybe I didn't understand it, but my dad did. And
Yeah.
it's funny because last Christmas I had that realization. My niece and nephew were there with their little kids, and my brother. It's like everybody I loved
Mhm.
was there. And I realized this is one of those moments. And I think that's one of the things dads help us understand is that, dads, you know, uh, they're courageous. That doesn't mean they have to be like a heroic military figure. Being a courageous dad is the guy that makes the sacrifices, works the long hours, listens to you, gives the advice, is there for you when the chips are down. And that is the type of man who will also
Mhm.
point out that the good times are when everyone is together,
Yeah.
everyone is happy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it can be over like that.
Mark, I love that you shared that because I've reflected on this for this show. And I thought, my dad, my birth dad, was not visible. And, the rest of the family, my dad was not he's not the kind of guy that you look at and say, you're a great guy. So much so when he passed away, nobody showed up at his funeral, right? Not his brothers. I mean, this was because of the way he treated my mom, my birth mom. But I will tell you, and he worked all the time. So what do I remember about him? I remembered he taught me it didn't matter if you were a girl or a boy. You hold a socket wrench the same way.
Yep.
You hold a ratchet wrench the same way. You get a screwdriver and you hold it this way. And whether it's a 1/4 inch or an 8 inch, it don't matter if you're a boy or a girl, it's the same. And so what he did, especially with me, I loved working on the cars with him. I just loved it. And I didn't care that I couldn't get the grease off my hands for school. I didn't care about that. But there was just something about that. Now, I didn't have a lot of time with him. But I will tell you that I had the honor of having a second father, and that was Linda's dad
Wow.
and Linda's mom. I've talked about her mom before, but her dad, Bjorn Firing, born in Norway, what a man. What a man. And, I was welcome into their home, and I was this scrappy, crazy, whatever I was, no real manners, right? And this man treated me with the most respect. I never got that. And he taught me how to do that with others. And I got to tell you, when we ran into problems at work, we'd always go to Bjorn. We used to call him Bummer. We'd always go to him. When something happened at work or we were going to get fired or it didn't matter, we would do. And he was so beautiful the way he explained life. That is such a special gift.
Yeah.
Now, here's the good news and the not so good news about buying gifts for dad on Father's Day. Do you know why it's easier to buy gifts for mom?
Because they tell you where to shop.
That, and it seems they want less expensive things. When you go to shop for the dad, like Linda's dad, what are you getting him? A $500, $600 grill. What are you getting him?
That's
The
true.
famous golf,
That's true.
the famous 19, I don't know what year golf club. Like you what? 1100 what for a golf club, right? And it was just like, oh, what does dad want? Oh, dad wants a stereo. Right?
Yeah.
Mom just wants dad to cut the grass. But it was always so fascinating with us. And so we would have to look at that for him. And we did. We ended up, I remember we bought him a stereo system and I put that together for him. Joan, on the other hand, she liked trees. We could we're going to the nursery. We're going to get a tree. Yeah. So we get a tree, but it's not a small tree. It's a gigantic tree. But that's the thing I remembered about dads. It was always so difficult. And so therefore, what I would do is I'd end up buying something 2 or 3 times the cost of what I would get for Mother's Day. I don't know. Is that like a reality? Do you think that's true?
I do. And I want to I want to ask our listeners to call in, because how do you deal with your dad not being here in this world anymore? I'm looking forward to doing connections for
Yeah.
callers. But if people want to call in and share how they deal with their dad not being here, or if you want to call in and tell a story of what made your dad not just a father, but a dad, that would be
We'd
great.
love
My
to
dad
hear.
was always teaching me how to do things and how to fix things. And he taught me about air-cooled engines. And air-cooled engines are like on lawnmowers and on boats, on a boat engine. And when I was 5 years old, we used to live near this creek that went, it was real jungly, and it went into a tributary of the St. Johns River in Florida.
Wow.
And I remember one day dad came home with this boat. It was about a 9-foot wooden John boat. And my mom was, "What are you going to do with that hunk of junk?" And he said, "I'm going to put a glass bottom in it." And he had this piece of glass that was from the space program that was left over. And he made a glass bottomed boat. And he taught me about air-cooled engines. Okay, hold on. We got something from a chat message from Lisa. Let me finish this story, then we'll get to that, Lisa. So anyway, he took my brother and I up this creek, and all of a sudden the engine conked out. It just, it's a 5 horsepower air-cooled boat engine. So here we are in this creek in Florida, and all of a sudden around us, alligators started surfacing. Not a couple of them, a lot of them. And my brother and I are looking through the glass bottom, boat, the window that he put in, and alligators are swimming by and looking at us. And we were completely surrounded. And some of these gators were a lot bigger than the boat we were in, and they're closing in on us. Now, my dad was a Navy SEAL, and I could tell even as a little kid, he was nervous. My brother's like, "I'll gig them." He's got a gig, and dad's like, "Stay away from the side of the boat. You boys get in the middle." And he very calmly and he took the cover of the filter off, and it's like a sponge. And he goes,
Oh,
"This is the problem." And he started cleaning it with
yeah.
gas, and then he put it back on, and wing, wing, he's got it going. And he got this engine going. Meanwhile, the gators were like right up on top of us, and they obviously were looking at us like dinner. But he got that thing running, and he taught me about how to clean an air-cooled engine filter. And that's where I learned how to do it when I was 5 years old. But he really was the bravest man I've ever known, because on the way home, he said, "Don't tell your mother about that. I will." So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that story. We have so many, and we're going to share what came through on our chat. We also have Rachel back. Well, I don't know if we have Rachel back, but we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I would love to share the chat message we got from Lisa. I hope you will do that for us, Mark. Again, for those of you out there, 1-800-930-2819. How about we take a really short break? Please think about the special moments, the times. You heard Mark and I just share. Yeah, look, having a greasy hand under a car with my dad, hello, that's the top of my list. But there are many more. learning how to use a table saw to really cut an eighth, a 16th of an inch off of a 12-foot half-inch molding by Linda's father, I will never forget that. Let's take a short break, everyone.
Welcome back to The Psychic and the Doc. This is our special Dad's Rule Father's Day episode. And this is a call-in show, 1-800-930-2819. I'm Mark Anthony, JD, Psychic Explorer, with Dr. Pat Baccili, PhD, world-renowned behavioral psychologist. And we've been sharing stories about our dads and the father figures in our lives who taught us things, taught us just amazing things. And we're also asking people to, in the chat room and to call in to share a story about your dad. And we do have somebody in the chat room, Dr. Pat, from Lisa. And she said, whenever I'd ask my dad what he wanted for Christmas or his birthday, he always said, more time with my girls.
That's it. There is no price tag you can put on that.
None.
Just cannot. And I know we live in a world right now where, you know, we have generations of people that have grown up with the contemporary modern family unit, whether you are a nuclear family, it doesn't matter, but you've grown up now in a world where one of you really can't afford to stay home. And if you do stay home, you're working from home. But what I'm trying to say about it is that was what we went through as we came out of the 80s and we came into the 90s. We saw the landscape of things change. And so with that had to come the change in parenting. You know, there was a whole new way that you had to adjust being. So what you had is the change not just for kids, but change for adults. And Mark, you know, when you grow up with parents that come from the special rules of the house, you know, like mom does this, dad does this, somebody sits home, they do this, dinner at the table, blah, blah, blah. She does the dishes. He does what? Nothing. When you come from that, and then it seems like overnight, a generation has changed. We don't talk about that enough. We just don't.
Yeah.
And fast forward to where we are today, chances are both parents are working and both parents are working even after they get home. And that is impactful, right? How do you think we're adjusting to that, Mark?
I don't know if we're doing that great of a job because, you know, I was interviewed the other day and somebody asked me, the host, what's the most challenging thing about what you do? And I said, there's not enough hours in the day. You know, I mean, there's not enough of me to go around because I'm always writing, working on this show, doing readings. And that's how parents feel. They work, they're exhausted, and you get home and their best hours of the day have been used up at work, and now you have a family. It's been psychologists, and you probably know more about this than I do, say that people speak less than like 10 minutes a day to their children. And usually it's at the table, either breakfast or dinner. There's not a lot of conversation. And I think that's what we're missing out on, is eating together as a family, having real conversations without cell phones and TVs and all these other distractions. So I don't know if we're really adjusting that well to it. What's your take on that, Dr. Pat?
You know, I think that we've had a couple of generations, and what I mean by generations, let me just say, we had a couple of generations to go through the transition. And the transition I'm talking about, and this was brutal. I just want to say to all of you out there, there was something that happened at the workforce that was unprecedented. And it happened in the late 70s, I think. But what happened was you started to see the rules change. And what was that from? It was from the equal rights movement, the women's movement. And so there was law that was put into play, which said you have to have this equal proportion. You have to do things differently, formerly known as quotas. And despite what a lot of people think, they actually did work. You could grit your teeth and say they don't work or you hated doing them, but they worked because they changed the landscape of so
Yeah.
many companies, and companies benefited. So, but we had a couple of decades for all of the families to adjust to this one change. Now, what has that got to do with parenting? Everything.
Yeah.
Because you started to see more and more women in the workplace, and you started to see them in the workplace, Mark, which meant what? There is nobody with the kiddos, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I want to say about all of that is it takes time. We did not have the time for the digital age. You know, we had time. We had the time that got us up to 2009 and 2010. And then we were hit with the worst economic downturn that changed the entire family unit and what they can expect. And then right after that, we got boom, digital, digital, digital. So these 40 years that we had to sort of adjust, generations today don't have. Now we have a caller. Would you like to?
I think we should
All
go
right.
to go to the phones.
All right, let's do it.
Hi, Gina. How can we help you?
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So I was trying to connect with, I had some really bad tragedies, tragic losses, let's put it that way. And one is like 6 months ago, and one was 12 years ago. So
Okay.
I wanted
Well,
to see.
okay, well, Gina, let me open up the frequency and see who steps forward. Sometimes the person you want to hear from the most may not be the first one to step forward. Okay, so if that's the case, don't worry about it because the other side knows who needs to step through when and where. The first spirit that I'm getting is a female energy. And what I'm getting with her is I'm getting these sharp pains. Oh, this terrible sharp pain at the bottom of my rib cage on the right side. It feels like almost like I'm getting stabbed in the liver. So that can mean there was a problem or an injury with her liver. But I'm also getting a very nauseated sensation, and nausea can be difficulty with eating or holding down food prior to passing. But now I'm getting a massive pain once again on the right side in the area of the hip and the kidney. And now I'm getting this impact sensation to my head. This indicates to me that this passing was abrupt, unexpected. Now, by abrupt and unexpected, it could be stroke, aneurysm, but based on these stabbing pains, this seems like there was some type of physical trauma involved with this. Does any of this make sense to you in any way, Gina?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Don't give me her name. Yeah, but what was the cause of passing?
Well, she fell down the steps.
Oh, so that would make sense with the impact. Okay, okay. Hold on. She keeps saying like Willoughby or Willie or Willie or Willoughby. Is there someone connected to you or her? Because sometimes when spirits bring up names, it isn't their name. It could be a place. It could be like a William or Williamsburg or Willie or Willoughby. I keep getting something like that. So if that doesn't make sense, let's make a note of it. And she keeps showing you surrounded by birds, little tiny birds, really cute little like finches and sparrows and all these sweet little birds. What's with you and all the birds, Gina?
Well, I mean, I like the birds, and every morning when I go outside to water my plants, and, I take notice of the birds. I have a lot of cardinals here that I see all the
Okay.
time.
Perfect. So she's letting you know she's around and aware of what's happening. and she's talking about you and lilac. Lilac. And I think lilacs are flowers, and I believe that lilac is in the purple family color group. And I'm also smelling this beautiful, sweet fragrance, but it's like kind of almost barely there. It's not overpowering. Is there anything with lilac or some type of purple flower that resonates with you in any way, Gina?
Well, I have purple flowers all over my deck, petunias.
Okay,
And
petunias. Go on.
yeah,
Okay.
so because there's somebody else that passed and purple was their favorite color.
Okay.
So
Don't give me their name, just the relationship, like friend, cousin, like that to that person. I'll see if I can get that person. Is that a male? The person with the purple?
yes,
Okay, because
yes.
I'm getting a male energy coming in, and I feel like I want to get up and run around the room. This guy must have been a fireball of energy. Okay. And he's like he's wearing glasses, or when he was in this world, but he keeps taking the glasses off, putting them on, off, putting them on. He goes, now I see you, now you don't. Now you see me, now you don't. Interesting. Do you ever get the
Uh,
sense that you may catch a glimpse of him, possibly in your peripheral vision?
yeah, I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
very,
he go ahead.
I'm very spiritual. I
Okay.
have a good sense, intuition.
Obviously. Yeah,
So
he's
I,
letting you know. Go ahead, keep going. I'll explain what that meant. Go ahead.
yeah, so I, feel things and see things all the time. You know,
He loved you
I'm
very
open.
much. Okay, you got to let me finish now. All right. He said he loves you very
Okay.
much. And he says, I know that you talk to me every day. And the reason he's saying, now you see me, now you don't, is he's letting you know that those glimpses that you're getting are him. Now, he's shown me some type of problem with water. Could be a leaky faucet, a pipe, something with irrigation. Have you had any water issues, either with a well, plumbing, irrigation? Could be something as easy as a leaky faucet. He keeps showing me that. Is there anything there that makes sense?
Well, my dishwasher is broken, and the person who passed was the last one to look at it, and then it didn't work after that.
Let's go
And
with the yes on that one. So that means he's around, he's aware of what's happening in your life. And he said, sorry, sorry. He goes, but he is snickering a bit, like he thinks this is funny. Not that he's purposely sabotaged your dishwasher, but he does think this is funny. And he keeps talking about the shirt, the shirt. Okay. Do you have one of his shirts? He's talking about the shirt, not a whole bunch of shirts, but the shirt.
sure. Um, well, so see that. So see, there's two males here. Okay,
Okay.
and so I don't know which one you're talking about, really. I do have one of the male's shirts. The other male, I need to get his stuff because
Well, here's the thing.
I
We have
haven't got.
them. All right, Gina, we have them both here. See, because spirit communication is just not one spirit at a time. They come in as excuse me, as a group. So we got the
Mm.
dishwasher spirit, we got the shirt spirit. So both these guys are there with you. And then I'm going to turn you over to Dr. Pat in a second, but one of them is now holding up his hand, and I'm seeing a diamond ring in his hand. Now, most ladies that I know have diamond rings. I get that. But diamonds, and this could be a particular diamond ring of significance that you may recognize, but diamonds are also the birthstone for the month of April. So this could be a reference to a significant birth, death, anniversary, or event connected to you or any of these spirits or somebody very close to you in this world or in spirit in April.
Well, my birthday month is April.
And there we go. That's a bada bing, a bada boom. We got both spirits here. All right.
One of one of them was killed tragically, but I'm nobody saw it happened, and there's just some confusion about whether he did it or it was an accident.
Was this a blow to the head? Some type of
It was,
massive imp? Go ahead.
yeah, well, both of them were. So I'm just going to tell you, okay?
All right, go
My
go
husband
ahead.
was killed. My husband was killed on a motorcycle, and my son was hit by a train 6 months ago.
Okay.
So,
First off, please accept our deepest sympathies. So that's why we keep bouncing back and forth between both of them, because we got your husband and your son here. And when I get an impact sensation to my head, that indicates an abrupt and or traumatic passing, which it was in both cases here. Okay. Which one was the train? Was that your son?
yes. And his name is,
Hold on. He's talking about that. He said it was a miscalculation on his part. Miscalculation, accident. I do not get that he intentionally put himself in the path of that train. He said miscalculation. He keeps repeating that. Does that make any sense to you?
yes, yes.
Okay. He also just added, Mom, I would never do that to you. And he's handing you a 4-leaf clover, which could mean something about the month of March. And because it's a symbol of Ireland, it could be somebody with Irish heritage or a name like Pat, Patrick, or Patricia, or something about the number 17. Doesn't have to be St. Patrick's Day, which is March 17th. It could be the 17th, or something about the number 17 in any other capacity.
Well, March 17th is my daughter's birthday. She was born on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, so that's a verifiable fact following the message. Let me explain what that means. When spirits give us a message of an explanatory advisory nature, your son said, Mom, it was a miscalculation, it was an accident, I never would have done that to you. That's the advice and explanation. Then when they follow it up with an objectively verifiable fact, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, your daughter's birthday, the verifiable fact of your daughter's birthday, March 17th, is how he's letting you and I know we've properly received and interpreted the message before that. And speaking of a Pat, Patrick, or Patricia, it's time for Dr. Pat.
Hey, thank you so much
Okay.
for sharing your story. Thank you. You know, Mark, Gina, I want to say a couple things. I don't know if you both know this, but there's something called a cardinal bird diamond painting.
Really?
Cardinal, I don't know. If you Google like cardinal bird diamond paintings, you're going to see them. But the other fascinating thing, cardinals represent a number of things. They usually represent angels. They usually represent somebody near you. The interesting thing about the cardinal and the lilac, so many pictures have both the cardinal and the cardinal on lilac. Why? I don't know why, but they do. But one of the things you should really look at, especially for the cardinal, they are highly spiritual. As a matter of fact, in the state of Hawaii, they are revered and very, very super special. And so I would spend some time with that energy. You know, it is a powerful spiritual energy. It represents angels and spiritual connections. And usually spiritual connections, let me just say, dash love. So there's a message coming through here for you. And I know that you have gone through great loss.
Mm-hmm.
You're not responsible, though, right? You know you're not responsible, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I kind of felt I was with a little bit with my husband and his motorcycle accident, because I had called him up. I was waiting for him to come home, and I'm like, "Where are you? You're late." And I felt like maybe I rushed him, and he was coming home, and he had the accident.
No.
No.
Let's clear that up, Mark.
No. Yeah, what he's telling me is it had nothing to do with him feeling time pressured. What he's telling me is I feel the motorcycle, all of a sudden I feel, and the motorcycles always vibrate a lot, but all of a sudden I'm feeling the rear tire like going right to left, right to left. It's like the all of a sudden he lost the grip and the friction on the road. There was something that caused him to lose control that wasn't his error and wasn't a sense of insistence. I don't know if there was something on the road or his tire was getting bald, but there was something with the rear. Dr. Pat, you're well versed in motorcycles. When the rear starts,
Yeah.
like what's going on when that happens?
There's nothing that you can really do. I mean, if you are a skilled rider, then you can adjust. If it is something that the road tips off the back of the bike, and it really depends on the bike. Usually this happens a lot with passengers. If you have a passenger on the bike, they don't know how to ride a bike, and so they'll cause you to spin the back wheel. But my sense is that this is a message from the spirit world to you. That's what Cardinal believes. And it is a message that represents this endurance and strength, but also about faith and love. And I think this message is really for you to know deeply in your heart, you did not cause this. But by the way, when you study enough spirituality, I think as Mark and I have done, you probably will know there is probably nothing you could have done in that situation.
Right.
Yeah, you're bugging him or whatever you said. No, not it. That's not
I
it.
just finished reading the book, The Afterlife Life Frequency.
Oh, thank you. I
And I
appreciate
really-
that.
Out of the book, and I was drawn to you because I was reading the book Audible, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, and the next suggested book was yours. And the name Mark Anthony, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I have to read this book because my son's name was Mark Anthony.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, there you go. Wow.
Thank you so much for
Thank
calling
you,
in
Tina.
today.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mark, thank you
Thank
for a
you.
great show. Yeah. Wow. Look, a lot of you chimed in. Donna, thank you for your message about sitting around the kitchen table with dad, your friends, and having a place where people can gather. Mark, again, thank you for a great show.
We'll be back
amazing
next
again.
week. Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Psychic and the Doc, you know how to find Mark. And for more of you out there, please, 1-800-930-2819. We'll be back next week. See you next time.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning into the Psychic and the Doc with Dr. Pat Baccili right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Hey, look, come back next week so we can explore with you more of life's many challenges and learn from fascinating guests. And you know what? Even Mark and me. We'll connect you and discover insights from people in this life and from the afterlife. Extraordinary problems? Yeah, they do. They require extraordinary solutions. But step into the world of possibilities with us on the Psychic and the Doc. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. That's TransformationTalkRadio.com. And don't forget, we're also live face-to-face on Facebook.com, Transformation Talk Radio.